All right, hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining our August webinar. Really excited to put this one on for you, and again, I thank everyone for taking the time out. I know August, especially late August, is a busy month with vacation. Kind of our last hurrah before the kids, for those of us with kids, or the kids go back to school. Maybe a lot of us spending time at the cottage, and perhaps some of you even watching this from the cottage. So thanks so much again. Being that August is the time for so much travel and being on the go, we want to be able to get away from it all, but at the same time we often still want to be connected, still be able to do certain things at certain times and stay a little bit productive even on our time off. We thought it would be a great idea to show how you can use life design analysis on the go. So our theme this month is how to use LDA on the road. Now you can see I'm presenting from a little bit of a different perspective today. I'm actually presenting all of this from an iPad Pro. But, I don't know if you're aware or not, but LDA is a responsive mobile site. And what that means is that we can be used on any different device. So this can be your smartphone, this can be your tablet, this can be a Mac, it can be a PC. You can access all the functionality of the site. But you won't find us in the App Store. So when you go to the App Store, we're not a traditional app. We don't have an Android app and a separate Apple app and a separate website. We do what's called a responsive website. And let me just show you what that means. So if I launch Safari or my standard web browser, it could be Chrome for some of you, I can go to lifedesignanalysis.com. So you can see just like any other regular website, just like the way you'd access our website, you can go and, again, all the functionality of the site, you can actually see the whole site adjust to the device we're on. So I can scroll through this. If you're watching this for the first time, you can sign up free. We do have a 30-day free trial. And again, LDA is a great system for being on your computer. Maybe then you build the report and then go out and present on the tablet. But every function of the site, again, you're not going to download a physical program. We are a website. We are a software as a service. So again, I can click the login in the top right corner here, and no matter what device I'm on, what location I'm on, if I have a connection, I can log into my account. So again, I'm going to put in my username and password, and I'm going to log into LDA. Now you'll notice whatever different device that you're on, LDA is going to respond to it. So again, this is an iPad Pro. You can see lots of screen size here. As it gets smaller, you'll see all the menus will change. Some of those things will turn into what we call a hamburger menu. But again, all the functionality of the site remains the same. So let's say, for example, you're out on the go and you want to access and use anything of LDA. Again, maybe going into manage clients and you pull up your contact record, you go, oh, there's Charlie's phone number, I want to call him. So I can just even tap on the phone number. You can see I can call, I can message, I can copy the phone number. So maybe I want to share my contact with someone in my center of influence. Like I find out my client doesn't have a will in place, so I want to copy their phone number, share it with my my lawyer who's in my center of influence, and make sure my client has a will in place as well as the right insurance. Perhaps we're sitting at a coffee shop or out on the road and we get a client phone call asking what our premium is. We don't want to tell clients these days, oh, I'm back in the office tomorrow morning, I'll get right back to you. They want the information right now. Hold on one second, let me take a look. So I'll go into Charlie's contact here. Again, view all that information. Pull up the policy. Okay, the policy number 1234567 Let's take a look here. I can go in there. You can see I can see all the information about the policy. So I can say, okay, your current premium is $1,090. The first renewal is coming up. It's $7,360. It was issued though November 17th, 2009. So we have till November till the next annual premium on that one. But it will be $1,090. So again, some of this information that keeps you productive even in between different appointments when you're out on the road can be very valuable, especially come the end of the day. I know I'm pretty guilty of this when I'm on the road. The emails pile up. I'm in meetings, out of meetings, and I get home, and it's finally time to see the wife and kids, and I'm just like, one second, I was out of the office all day. I just got to send off 5 critical emails, and then I'll be right there. Well, if we can get some of those done in the time before we actually get home, we're going to have a better work-life balance. So, these strategies that we're going to go over today are all around making you more efficient on the road. So the first one that I wanted to focus on, and I'm actually just going to take back here, I'm going to go back to the main dashboard, and it's all around making life design analysis an app. So once you've created your account and signed in here to the main dashboard, this is where I would suggest making an app from. And I know you're saying, well, Charlie, you just told me you're not found in the App Store, but a lot of times all we really want is, we just want to tap something like photos or our clock, and we just want it to go and do that particular function. So sometimes by having something as an app, it gives it that nice dedicated value. Now, what we can do with LDA, though, is make it an icon on the home screen here so we can access all of that functionality that I just talked about very, very easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my web browser. I'm going to navigate to lifedesignanalysis.com. I'm going to get to the home screen here where I want to add it, this main dashboard. And again, this can be done on either device. Again, as I say, I'm showing it on an iPad, but what we're going to do is we're going to hit this share button at the top here. Now, if you're using Android and you're using Google Chrome or whatever your browser is, there may be a 3 stacked dots called a hamburger menu. Very similar process. This is possible on any different device. If you're having trouble on a different device, just give us a shout on our live chat. We'll help you and walk you through it. But when you do on an iPad or any kind of iOS device from Apple, hit this share button, you can see there's certain functionality, like you can send a message to someone, you can mail someone, you can share LDA with them. But what you're looking for is along the bottom here. So you can see add reading list, add bookmarks. We want to just kind of scroll across. So I'm just using my finger here to scroll. And you can see there's a plus button here that says add to home screen. That's the one we're looking for. So that plus add to home screen, we're going to click plus. And you can see it says add it to the home, and it says, it's got the kind of the picture of the dashboard here. It'll, that'll update occasionally. And it's got a big long name. Now, I wouldn't suggest using the whole name. You can. We want to give it a very app-like name. We're just going to call it LDA. So I'm just going to rename that top part. Leave the URL exactly as is, this bottom part, because it's directing us right to this screen. We're going to say add. Now, what you're going to see here is it's actually going to add an icon here to our home screen. And again, it behaves just like any other app on your tablet would. In fact, we can even take this and move it down into the home screen here so that it's accessible no matter what page we're on. Wherever we are, we can quickly. So if we do get an opportunity, we want to quickly pull up a presentation for a client, maybe share it with them, pull up any kind of contact information. Again, we can easily fire right into LDA, and it's going to behave like an app would. It's kind of that mental trigger of think life insurance, think LDA. Now, as I said, when you're in here, you can go into all that kind of contact record information that I showed. You can also run any different kind of report that you normally would from your computer. So I think one of the best examples I can give of this is how to use our recipes in a pinch. So, perhaps you gain leads from your website and, you have a lead come in, or your receptionist calls you and says, so-and-so is looking for, a quick example quote, and you're not back in the office to run anything, and again, you're just, you've got some time to kill in a coffee shop and you want to turn something around for them. By the same token, you may not want to just show them T10. You want to actually put together a presentation showing, multiple different options, but in a way that they're actually going to understand. Well, what we're going to do is we're actually going to say, let's create a new case, and I'm going to use one of our recipes, which are sort of predetermined kind of scenarios. And again, if I were working with a brand new client, I would just say new client, enter in their information, click save. I'm going to go as if this is an existing client just for the sake of brevity. I'm going to say this is my sample client. So when I start typing the name of a client, anyone matching that description, I can say select. We do this so you only have to enter contact details once. Once you enter a contact record in there, it's saved. You can always leverage them in the future. You're going to get things like birthday notifications. But all of your cases for that client, all of the in-force policies for that client, all of your needs analysis that you've done are all tied to that particular contact record, so that you have everything that you need for compliance in the event of an audit, all tied to that one case. Now, in this case, I'm just going to select an insurance benefit here. I'm just going to say $500,000. And again, I can go through all sort of, if I wanted to granularly search out for term and add those products, I could, whole life. We'll show a little bit of that later. I want to go with a really quick recipe. I want to say, I know this person, they've determined, they've said that they're looking for insurance for the mortgage. I know they have either a 25 or 30-year mortgage. So I want to use one of our recipes or combinations of product to really quickly put together a presentation. So in this case, I'm going to pick our T10 versus T20 versus T30 recipe. Again, if you make a mistake clicking on one of those, you can always switch it to any other recipe. When you get to this sort of screen here, you can control things like the health risk, payment schedule, company filter, and all of this sort of integration is due to our connection with LifeGuide software. And again, for LifeGuide subscribers, we give a half-off exclusive discount, so any of the fees for life design analysis get slashed in half if you're a LifeGuide subscriber. So take advantage of that. If you're watching for the first time and thinking about LDA, certainly activate. If you're a LifeGuide subscriber, absolutely, you get a half-off discount. It's almost a no-brainer. Now, once we get our sort of parameters in here, this is the recipe we're looking for. We're looking at our preferred companies. We can just simply hit Add Recipe. And you can always change, as I said, those sort of parameters. So if you're looking for a specific company, of course, you can just select that one too. Now you can see the recipe is run. It's gone ahead and grabbed a T10, 20, 30. It grabbed the lowest priced one on the market because we just said look out of our preferred set of companies and find us the lowest price. Sometimes these will be different carriers. In this case, it's all RBC, so they've got pretty competitive pricing across that term market. Again, you can see we can go through the cases we normally would. We can change different assumptions. Like we might add an internal note saying lead from website. Or maybe it was a lead from a social post. Now, given that this person might be new to insurance and maybe they even came in for a T10 quote, we might want to show them maybe different types of insurance and give a little bit of an education. So even though we are on our tablet, we can still leverage all of the concepts in the system. So I'm going to use a types of insurance note to maybe describe the different types of term insurance, universal life, whole life, just so that they get some kind of education and know it's not there's not just one option out there. It's not just term life. It's not just term 10 either, that they do have options and that, we're going to help educate them on these different options. And again, while we're down there, you guys have options as far as what information to show. So if I want to clean up this report and make it a little bit more simplistic, I don't think someone buying a mortgage, I don't think the equivalent IRR is necessarily suitable for this kind of case. So I'm just going to trim a few of these kind of report components, make my report a little bit slimmer. So again, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take away the needs analysis in this case. I haven't actually done one for our particular scenario we're doing. I have done one for this client, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Our next topic is actually how to do the needs analysis. So again, we've structured our report. We've got our products. We've kind of set our parameters. All we have to do is click this Generate Report at the top here. Now, I'll just also point out really quickly, we do have this little handy sidebar along the sides. If you want to quickly generate the report, even from down here at the bottom, again, that's what this little sidebar is for. And you can see there's also ways to get back to the last case, manage your clients, go back to any of the cases that you've done, or maybe you finish this one, you've got it, and you want to go back to and create another one. These are just handy shortcuts that you can use. Of course, either one is fine. I'll click Generate Report here, and let's just take a look at, going from a contact record that might come in over email, or we might get a phone call from a receptionist, to being able to turn this around using a recipe into a sales-ready presentation in literally seconds. Or, again, the whole process, we've gone over a couple minutes, but this is teaching it. When you get in the habit of doing this and turning one of these cases out for every different client, you're going to notice a lot of upselling. You're going to notice some efficiencies in time. And the real bonus, too, is that you're going to have all of that information backed up on file. So if you do need it later and you think like, oh, this is just a term policy, it's simple. Well, we think that in the present, but a lot of times, 10 years down the road, 7 years down the road, it can come back, and we really want to have good notes, and we want to have all of our research documented with what we showed the client, how we established the decision, perhaps the needs analysis, all of that kind of information tied to a case. Now, just going through this again, you can see beautiful cover page. For those of you watching for the first time, this is something, again, you're going to brand with your logo. So one of the first things I always say is go into the account settings, add your logo. All of your future reports are going to have that logo in it. So again, take some time to customize it. Things like the mission statement. And you can see I've even added a little bit of a link inside of there. So again, you can add links to other resources from in your report. As you're going through and maybe presenting to a client, you might tap on it. Access a different website. Maybe it'll be a link to the dividend scale of a particular product. So again, think of different ways you can add links into your reports. You can see I've got my great types of life insurance report here. So again, I know, when I send this to the client, I want them to have a little bit of extra information. Think about using these for different concepts. So again, they're very versatile. I'll show you, you can also make your own out of our templates as well. So if you like, sort of the wording of this for the most part, but you want to make your own tweaks, you can always edit and add to these different report templates, and I'll show you that in a moment. Again, you can see we go into the premium schedule. So, not only do we give them our term 10 price, we've also got term 20 and term 30. And the whole idea of this, as I talked about in our recent blog, is we want to sell over their time frame rather than just that initial price. So a lot of clients focus on $335, they ignore $2,500, they ignore $6,000. But what we want to show is how those different pricing schedules operate over that 30 years and really, again, show them at the different times in their life where it's going to increase in the overall cost. So I think it's a very dramatic report. The nice thing, though, is, again, we have, in this case, it's all RBC, but sometimes you may have 3 different carriers, and we can't, if we go in and print out all the different, like kind of the PDF illustrations, we're going to have, I joke about this a lot of times, we're going to have about 30 pieces of paper. They're all going to be different fonts, different numbers, different ways to access the information. And it's us who can look unprofessional when presenting it if we're juggling different papers and saying, highlighting this area compared to this area. And again, they don't have total prices. One of the nice things about LDA is it takes all that information, it condenses it, makes it very user-friendly. It's designed for that end consumer of which 88% say they're not familiar with the different insurance types. So, something that is engaging and visual like this really communicates to them better. I often talk that, visuals are processed by the brain much quicker. But again, when you look at a chart like this around the price of these products, what we see initially is that, they're all very close, relatively speaking, right? There's, it's a very small increase from, where all of these products are under $2,000 per year. But when we look at the perspective of this, we see that term 30 stays under $2,000 for that entire duration of the mortgage, whereas other products like our term 10 goes all the way up to $2,500 here in that first renewal, and then again increases again. So it's all about this perspective factor. Now you can see as I touch certain elements, I'm able on the tablet to zoom in and zoom out just by pinching, but you can see all of these legends are interactive as well. So I can simply type on one. You'll notice that the entire chart actually repositions itself. So again, even if I want to take out the term 10, we say, okay, forget that. Let's look at a term 20 versus term 30. Of course we can bring things in and out. And again, you may want to add, sometimes we might be doing these where we're not sitting with the client. We might want to add a custom note if we're using one of the shared cases that I'll show you in a little bit. We might add a custom note so you can see if I go and kind of find a particular data point, all I have to do is tap on it and I can add something like, I could say renewal. So I can say guaranteed renewal, price increases. And then I could say something like can reapply, and I'm going to say if, because this is a big if, healthy. So I could add a little custom note to add a little bit more detail, a little bit more education factor around, why does that price go up? That's something that, perhaps we take for granted. We know why the price goes up. Our clients don't always know why the price goes up. So I can add that in there. Now just remember, again, you can toggle these on and off if I hit toggle call out. And if you ever want to delete them, again, it's just a matter of go back to that call out and just simply delete all of the text. So if I take this and just go, okay, maybe I want to remove that note. If I ever make a mistake, I can just delete it, click save. That call out's going to be gone. So again, it's no longer in the report. You can see even if I click that. Now this is a very popular one as well. A lot of times I wrote in our article around selling around time, if we ask our clients, when do you want your insurance to end? In this case, they said it was for a mortgage. So we have, sort of established that 30-year, maybe 25-year, but often, almost never do people get a new term 10. They perhaps have 10 years left on the mortgage and T10 makes sense. Most of the time, their time frame is going to be longer than that 10 years. Now, if you are someone who likes to, kind of resell on that 10-year, I'd encourage you to take a look at our term rewrite. We can link that to you in the comments as well. If you're looking for it, definitely shout out to us, and I'll have our guys send that link to you. But again, this is a great, sort of conversation because if we say, when do we want our insurance? They say, our mortgage is 25 years. Great. We can go out to year 25 and we can say, okay, these are the prices, the accumulated cost of the insurance or the sum of premiums. I just think of it as cost. And of course, you can PV this as well. Just set it in the design case. But again, if we say, which line do you prefer? Light blue down here, yellow, or dark blue? Which one would you want? Again, whether it's 25 or 30 years, at 30 years is even more exaggerated, the difference. But again, that savings is obvious, and that's the power of the visual, is we take all of those complex calculations, the different renewal schedules, the different term lengths, we condense it into something that's meaningful for a client, and they can easily see, I have options, but but it's easy for me to see the best one for my particular needs, in this case around time. Now, if for whatever reason they go, you know what though, at 70, I'd still have to reapply or drop the insurance, we can always adjust for that too. So one of the other things about these recipes that's really nice, and again, I'll just show you here, this is the kind of the presentation summary, the Excel, kind of array of adding up all the costs, but again, really, really highly effective. Do you want to pay 93, 119, or 32,000 for your insurance by the time your mortgage is done? And again, if you ever want to go in between these years, as I say, these little plus marks can. Now, this is incredibly interactive when you're actually dealing with clients, sitting down with them. Perhaps you share the report with them and they look at it on their tablet. It's a great experience to view it like this, very tactile, very intimate, that they get engaged in the process. As I say, if they bring up the conversation of, maybe I need permanent, again, one of the great things we can do is we can just tap this back to last case. We know this is the last one we worked on. And like any good recipe, we can always add to it. So if you wanted to add some whole life or universal life, again, maybe as simple as just hitting search rates. I'm going to pick a min-funded UL for the same face value, and again, I'll add the particular product. So in this case, you can see we've got sort of the different rankings of the different price points. I'm going to say let's add this Avari one. It's top of the list. I add it to the case, and again, I can go ahead and generate the report. Now remember too, you can always change the names of certain things as well. So you can go and change the title of this, add in maybe even a link to an e-app. Maybe you want UL to be an ace up your sleeve. You might hide it from the initial report, so you can see it's hidden, it's blanked out, it won't show up, and then you want to bring it in without doing kind of the live survey. Of course, you can always use the hide report. But again, I can add another product and simply hit generate report. I also talked about, again, if you wanted to use one of those concepts and create your own, it's just under this manage templates, and you can see there is our global ones, which are in the entire system, but there's also user-defined ones, which are your segmented ones. I know a lot of our bilingual users will actually use a kind of make an English and a French mission statement that they can just flip it back and forth, so it's easier to change in between the two. So lots of ways you can use those custom concepts, but any sort of report note that you're using kind of more frequently, I would certainly make it a custom one, because then all you have to do is just grab it and say, I want this one. You can, have a custom note. So if you're doing a lot of buy sells, again, add that note in there, customize it for your specific business, and then instead of typing it out or attaching it in a different document, you kind of make it integrated into this report. So I'm just going to add back my types of insurance note in there. And of course, this is all user editable text, so even if you just want to make a one-off note, you can add some text in there. All right, so that's how you can use recipes and how you can kind of conduct them. But let's go one step further. Again, in this kind of report, I built it, but I actually neglected to use a needs analysis. Let's say, for example, another place, we're out and about, we're on the golf course, and inevitably the conversation comes up, well, what do you do? And you say, oh, well, I sell life insurance, annuities, I sell investment products. Whatever the question is, you may get something like, oh, I really need to review my insurance. I bought this T10 policy some time ago, or, half the clients don't even know. I think it's about 88% of clients don't even know what they bought. Maybe you have an opportunity to say, oh, well, I've got this great little app. We launch LDA. Let me conduct a needs analysis for you. So again, I could say, let's go, and maybe we say add a new case here, and maybe I even just add a new client and just say, okay, let's just say Joe Blow. Again, give it a company name. I'd say, how old are you? I could guess. I might grab that later. I'll just kind of make up a date right now for the sake of this. Say male. And again, I don't have to enter all of this contact information, though this is valuable, as I said, because the more information you put in there, when you need to access it, let's say later on, you can simply just go into that manage contacts. All that information is saved, very much like a CRM. But again, once I enter this client once, I can always add details later. Right now, we're good to go. We're going to say create a new case. Now, I like to get to it, the needs and create a case from here, because it's already attached to a client and I can share the link should I need. But again, I can say, let's run through a needs analysis. And again, remember, I'm doing this on a tablet. This is something that's phenomenal on your phone. May even try and show you how this looks on the client's end. So let's say, for example, I go through here and I say, I want to add a custom label for, I like to add a charitable gift. I'm going to say charity of choice. I'm just going to seed that in there. And I'm going to say the value, let me just put 100,000 in there. Maybe we talked about it during the game. 600, that's very generous. Again, I might put in the values for last expenses. So I might say, even though you'll see as I share this with the client side, they can see the Canadian averages, but I might want to steer them in a certain direction. I think the Canadian average is something like 8,500 to 20,000, but in realities, typically, I've heard advisors joke, you basically have to be thrown out of the back of a truck to actually, catch that 8,500 number. So again, I may fill in some of these different things. I may not want to ask about the debt. I might just be meeting this guy for the first time on the golf course, and I don't want to throw off a person's game like that, asking him about finances. So I'm going to let them fill that sort of information in. But I might, maybe mention he's got a couple kids. Maybe I'll just put in, $20,000, 2 kids. And I'll populate a little bit of it. Now I'm going to leave things like the mortgage assets and current insurance in place. They said perhaps from that conversation, they said, we've got that, $100,000 T10 policy. So maybe I throw that in there. I know they've got it in place. So again, I can save that. Again, I can save it to the client. I'll just hit go. That saves that information. Now I've always got this in file, but let's say again, I want to share this with my client. I want them to fill out the rest of it, and I want to use it as an onboarding. So I'm going to tap this link my client to fill. Okay, so when I click the link client to fill, you can see I get a link to the needs analysis. I'm just going to click this copy URL here. So I'm going to copy the URL in which I can share it to them. Now, again, a lot of times I'd say you can email this to a client and say, great meeting you on the course, here's a link to it. But in this case, I'm actually going to text it to them. So I'm going to launch my texting app here. I'm going to say Charlie's my contact, and I'm going to say, hey, great playing today. Here is that link to help you find out how much insurance you should have. So I send a nice little text. I go here. I paste this link. Great. Now my client can click on this link and actually fill out the needs analysis. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. All right, so I'm going to jump over here. You can see I'm actually picking up on my phone here. I've gone into my text messages and opened the text message that I got from info@Life Design Analysis. So again, you can see, hey, great playing with you today. Here's that link to help you find out how much insurance you need. I need to click it. It's going to take me over into a web browser where I can fill out the needs analysis. So you can see this would actually be the advisor's logo or whatever logo is in the account settings. So again, it's going to be personally branded when the client gets to it. You can see, there's certain elements that we had filled out to the current insurance. But, if they do have any questions, again, they can tap on this little question mark, like what does assets mean? So these are the assets you would liquidate and use as funds for income, not part of your financial future contributions like your house equity unless otherwise specified. So unless they were going to sell the house, we wouldn't include it in there. So they could say, okay, well, we've saved up, $30,000 as kind of our nest egg. We just bought, $500,000 left on our mortgage. Income after tax. Again, if they have a question, they hit the little question mark. They see the line on the T4. I'm going to say 60,000. Again, education. We built that in there for them so they can see that. Household debt, so they might go, we got about, $5,000 on the line of credit, plus maybe $2,000 on the Visa, and that's about it. Oop, that's a big Visa bill. So, and you'll see it actually does the math when I actually just kind of click off there, and that's expressed in the tooltip as well. Use the plus keys to do math. Last expenses, again, I'll just show you that we do have the averages in there so they can see, but again, we wanted to steer them a little bit over, and again, charity of choice, so that's anything else that we want. Now at the very end, you can see they get the nice little preview too. They can click on all these and just hit save at the end, but they actually get to see it. Now, the really neat thing is, again, as the advisor, we're actually going to get a notification. And this is probably a good opportunity. I'll just show you, even though I'm on the client side, I'm going to go to lifedesignanalysis.com here, or again, go for my little handy shortcut. And I just wanted to show you can see the entire site has responded to the device I'm on. So instead of the big menu at the top, we get a little other menu here we can go through. Again, even though I'm on my phone, I can log in and access any of the different information. So whether it's looking up a contact record, maybe creating a new recipe, or in this case, again, you can see I've got a brand new notification. And what it's going to tell me is that our client, in this case Joe Blow, has actually filled out the personal needs analysis. So again, I get notified when they do it. Again, I might make a custom reminder out of it and say, okay, remember to stay on top of Joe, follow up tomorrow. But again, you can actually see, and I can go to that kind of the client file to actually take a look here. So again, I can go see Joe Blow, that case that we were creating, all of the values that they filled in. Now again, this is great whether you're on the go conducting the needs analysis or if your client's on the go filling it out. And again, one of the neat things that I think is interesting about texting some of these resources to clients is, we get so bogged down in email and spam and junk mail and things like that is, I think the status, like 99% of text messages get read. So even if, I don't know about you guys, but even if when you get a text message here, you're always taking a look at it because you want to clear that red dot, sometimes it's a great way to break through the noise by sending something in a different medium, maybe sending the needs analysis link to onboard over text, or maybe sending a shared case report that they could look at on their mobile device. Now, generally, I would recommend reports be viewed on a tablet or something. I think it's a lot more interactive in experience. But again, for certain simple reports where you're sending off, a couple market options or a needs analysis link, I think those are phenomenal ways to onboard a client. Okay, now quickly jumping back here to life design analysis on the iPad, I've actually pulled up a example case that's one of my favorites. And I just wanted to really quickly cover sharing a case. I mean, there's so many different ways we can use sharing a case. Anytime you generate a report itself, and I'll show you that in a moment, you have the option to share a case with our Premier package. Now you can see in this example, if you look at my statistics, I have almost 1,000 views and almost 2,500 clicks on my actual report here, my shared report. So there's this is something that I use to market out kind of the LDA capabilities to insurance advisors. But again, remember, even when you're out and about, perhaps you go out and present on a tablet and you want to leave some leave behind material, but again, we want to be very green friendly. Perhaps we don't want to print out material. It's not interactive. We want to share it with our clients. Well, when you generate a report in Life Design Analysis, you're going to see a share, unshare tab at the top there. So as soon as you generate the report, you get your regular LDA report. When you click, and I'll just show you here, I'll unshare this one here for a second just to show you there's no link. As soon as I tap this share button, it generates a URL specific for this case. Now, I'm the only one with this link, so whoever I distribute to, they're the only ones who can view it. But of course, there is the possibility they could send it to, let's say, their accountant, or maybe they forward it on to their spouse at work. So sometimes you may want to put things like an expiration date. You may want to require certain information. So this one's public on the web. I've used this on LinkedIn to market a concept out there. So I've disabled the comments. I don't want every Yahoo commenting on it and asking questions, or I don't want bots from the internet leaving comments and marketing of their own. So I've disabled comments. You can see though I have requested that before they can even enter the report, they provide a first name, last name, and email. And again, that's something that's great for capturing a lead, or we talked about this a little bit in gated content that we can create. But it's also good if they're going to forward the report onto the CA. The CA will have to enter their information in before viewing the report. Now, again, all I have to do is copy this. But let's go back again. When you're on your tablet, again, it's something that's incredible that we can insert this into an email, or again, we can come back here, go into our text messaging, and again, just like before, I can say, here is the report review with your partner. Send that. Again, paste the link. And just like that shared case, again, now we have an interactive view to the report. Now again, we show this when actual clients visit it. We get notified just like that, just like the shared needs analysis. And again, you're even going to see things like the view duration. So again, when I go into shared case visits, again, I can see all of the different people who are going and viewing my actual shared case. I can see the time that they're actually on and maybe how engaged they are. So great ways to use it. But again, if you think about being mobile, again, this is something that you can text. It might even be something that you go onto Facebook, for example, and PM someone, or LinkedIn and send them a kind of a message. Thanks so much for connecting. Here's that report. So it depends on kind of your audience that you're viewing with, but again, all of that sort of capability totally available to you. So again, if you get a lot of leads and you do a lot of non-face-to-face, you don't necessarily have to be in the office. You can be out and about, be able to present this remotely. And even again, remember, when you do share cases, there's this advanced shared case statistic button. It's a little info button here, but what it helps you do is actually break down where people are spending their time on the report itself. So if there's a particular page that stands out, like for instance the needs analysis, again, we might say, okay, well, that's where our client's real interest lies. Or again, even things like the callouts we've added, are people toggling on them? Are they clicking more? Again, we're going to be able to see that. The other nice thing is that when we do share a case, our clients are able to go through and interact with all those charts. So again, you're sharing not only the primary example, but you're also sharing the reduced example. And this really helps with compliance as well. Remember, think about if you're adding and clipping from spreadsheets and things like that. A lot of times we take the example we want, we forgo the other examples. Remember, it's good to give your clients all the information you can, arm them with both examples, make it interactive, make it engaging. And that's how you can share a case on the tablet. So let's just go back again, any sort of report that we do. So again, I'll go back. This is a great one of mine that I've done. But even if, we're working on, let's go into manage cases here for a second. Even if we're working on, kind of that report we just spun up. Again, lead comes in online. I'll just reset these filters here. I capture my client's intel. We've got Joe Blow or whoever who we want to create cases for. Again, we can create the case. So I'll just add a term product here just as an example. So I'll say insurance benefit. I hit search, and again I could show what perhaps a T10 looks like versus maybe just a little bit of whole life. So maybe I just want one of those T100s with values. Let's just check it out again. Do life pay here. I'm just going out of my preferred companies. We've got lots of different options here. I know this IA Alliance L100 is pretty nice. I'll just add that to the case. So even certain things, again, even certain parts of whole life, I would use the search for whole life only when you're looking for guaranteed values. That's what comes in through that Life Guide integration that I talked about. And again, worth mentioning for those of you joining late, if you are a Life Guide subscriber, you get a discount on LDA. It is exclusive. It is half off. Get in touch with us over our helpline if you need any support. And that's the other thing too. If you're working on your tablet and you need help, again, all of that live chat functionality works as well. So I can go help, send a message to our support team. We're going to see if everyone's paying attention, and someone's going to help us out. So you can see Brad's jumped in there. John can jump in, and again we can Nick as well. So again, we can get that. We can generate a report on the spot, all within the coffee shop, all within this minute or so. And again, if we want to share it back with our client, again, knowing they're digital, they're looking online, they're shopping around for rates, they found our website. Again, not only do we give them a quote, we can actually return them a full presentation once we capture that lead from them. So again, we can copy this. Of course, we could simply email that back to them, just paste it in the message. It could be a text, it could be any sort of connection. So anywhere we can get them a link, we can publish it out. So that's how you can share a case. So hopefully that helps you when you are out and about. I'm going to have John and Nick kind of close out the webinar with a few tips on when you are out and presenting, things you might want to keep in mind. I think they're going to show you how to make a personal hotspot. I think they'll show you if you don't have Wi-Fi what you can do, and perhaps even saving a PDF. So I'll hand it over to those guys, but thanks so much. And I'll be back with updates and closing remarks. Thanks so much.
All right, everybody. So what we're going to do now is look at some helpful tips that you can take on the road when using a life design analysis report. The one misconception I hear quite often from our subscribers is, what if I don't have a Wi-Fi connection? Would I be able to use a life design analysis report on the go? And the answer is yes. You don't necessarily need a Wi-Fi connection to use life design analysis as long as you have the report generated. So as you can see, I have this report loaded and ready to go. So what I'm just going to demonstrate is that I'm disconnecting from my Wi-Fi connection to show you that it's not necessarily required once you have the case generated. So I'm just going to exit out of here, and I'm going to go into my settings, go Wi-Fi, and I'll just turn that off. So now I have no Wi-Fi connection. So if I were to refresh the page, it would not load, but let's just go back to our internet browser here. So I'm going to click on Safari. And again, I don't have an internet connection, but as I scroll down through here, If I wanted to use any of the interactive features, for example, on the needs analysis, you'll see that I still have that capability. So although I don't have an existing internet connection, I can take full advantage of the reports just like if I were to have internet. Now, if I were to try and refresh this report, so let's say I wanted to go back to make an edit or refresh this for any reason, what we're going to see is that it's no longer opening. So as long as you don't try to refresh the case, go back and add to it, you can present it without a Wi-Fi connection. But let's say if you need to in a pinch, you need internet, you need to add something or make any changes. This is where a personal hotspot could come in, where you can tether your phone's connection to your device so you then have internet to make any of these changes. Okay, so now we're connected to my smartphone, and I'm going to want to go into my settings, so I'll see the personal hotspot option. It's set to off, but if I select that, there's going to be an option up on the top right where I can turn that on, and now my smartphone is broadcasting a signal that can be connected to my tablet, so I have a Wi-Fi connection again. All I need to do now is shift back to the tablet, go to my settings, select that hotspot, and enter in the password just like if it was a regular Wi-Fi signal. Alright, so we're back to the tablet now. Again, as you can see, still don't have an internet connection as we left it off before, but since we have that hotspot turned on, I'm now going to go back into my settings, turn back on the Wi-Fi, and I'll see the phone networks in here. So I see it says Charlie's iPhone. I'm going to select that, and now I just need to enter in that password. Okay, so I've entered in that password. You can see at the top of the screen I'm now connected to the personal hotspot. So we'll go back into our internet browser, into that case, and I'm just going to refresh my screen, and you'll see that it loads back up again, and we can now go through the report as we were before. Now the nice thing is about having a hotspot connected is we can go back to the design case page, we can add products in, or do any revisions just like if we were connected to our Wi-Fi on a laptop as an example. Now in most cases you are going to be able to have a Wi-Fi connection to tether to your hotspot, connect to the Wi-Fi to Tim Hortons, something in that extent, but just keep in mind, worst case scenario, you can always present a report without a Wi-Fi connection. Just make sure that you've loaded it previously. So I'm just on the results page just to demonstrate I can add in a policy just like I could normally, even though I am tethered to my smartphone. So I have all that functionality just like I did before. Now, the last option we have with these cases is to generate a PDF file and either present the report that way or have it as a backup document just in case. So in order to do this, I'm going to select the Generate PDF File, or option I should say, just at the top of the screen. And what's going to happen on a device like this is it's going to open up the PDF file in the same Internet tab. Now the main thing with a PDF file we need to consider is it's not going to provide those interactive features. So I'm trying to click on those options below the pie chart for the needs analysis, and you can see no changes are being made. So we recommend that you are going to show the interactive version, but this is definitely a great backup to have or alternate option along with the interactive case. Now on this iPad, I'm going to select the option just beside the address bar, and you're going to see that I have some options at the very bottom, and one of them is Save to Files. So I'm going to select this, and it's going to give me a few options. I could save it to my cloud storage, I can save it to my iPad. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this to my desktop file on my iPad and click Add at the top. Now that I've done this, it's going to be saved on the cloud storage, and in order to access it, I'm just going to go back to the home screen, and I'm going to click on my File app just at the bottom. Okay, now I'm on my recent file folder, and I can see that the PDF that we selected has already been loaded in here. So I can select that PDF, bring it up, and go through that with the client as a backup, or if you want to, as opposed to the alternate case or the interactive case. But as we mentioned, it is preferred to use those features. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Nick Ferguson, and he's going to go over some additional tips to use life design analysis on the road and on a tablet.
Thanks a lot, John. Yeah, and one point I actually wanted to make on your last case you were just looking at there is that even with a PDF, dependent on the type of device you're using, but in most cases when you're viewing a PDF on a tablet, iPad, whatever it is you're using, there's usually a function within the PDF viewer to actually mark up the PDF file that you're using. So I mean, you could get into much more detailed notes that you make on this particular case. So for example, if we want to do that, at least on an iPad, you're going to go to this icon at the top right to actually mark up that information. So we could point to a particular juncture, might be on the summer premiums here, or it could be on the annual premium schedule, and so we just kind of draw an arrow, add whatever particular pointer you want to add there, and then just simply exit that, and you've got that saved onto the case here. And so there's a lot of flexibility, even though using the PDF might not be ideal in some points, there is still some additional features there that are going to help you get the most out of going mobile and having LDA as an additional solution there. The next thing I was going to cover here is actually adding some additional tips and tricks to actually be more mobile and have things quickly at your fingertips when using LDA on the road. So I'm actually going to switch back to LDA. So just open up my browser here. We've covered in previous webinars how to actually tag a case and make it easily accessible within kind of your large catalog of cases you've worked on previously. But one of those things that's namely going to be able to help you do that is actually searching by case name, which you can see in the top left corner here. So we can label a number of different cases as kind of like our stock cases, which I've done in this case here. And I'm going to show you how to actually add that case name here. So we're going to go to view this previous case John was working on. And then in the design case page, just below where you can add products and the products you've already added, you'll see there's a field here called case name. We can simply punch in exactly what we're looking for. So in this case, I'm going to call this stock case. And then we'll pull down to the bottom of the screen and just save here. So now when we return back to manage cases, we're going to have a number of specific kind of conceptual examples we've got prepared ahead of time. So if need be, on the fly, we can grab one of these examples and show to a client exactly what it is they might be describing to us. And so we can see, go into case name, type in stock. And that's going to give me all of the stock cases I've prepared ahead of time here. So now we can go ahead, grab one of those, and then actually run through that illustration with the clients on a conceptual basis and explain to them how this actually works. And then we can take that further one step and actually go into the detailed analysis of preparing particular products or specific concepts per that exact client.
All right, Nick, thanks so much. I think that makes an excellent way to kind of set up some certain personas or stock examples of cases. And remember, those are really great when you kind of come across a generic prospect. You want to show them an example of, maybe perhaps this is something that worked for another client. You want to mask client names. You don't want exact data. You just want kind of the concept. So remember, tag those as certain personas or certain scenarios that you can bring up on the fly. And remember, you can bring those up really easily on the iPad. Now, in terms of this month, again, remember, take a look in the Help Center. Visit our blog is what I wanted to draw attention to. A lot of the great new articles in the blog, focused around selling on time. We've got a great new piece on our story and even some of the data about market trends that are happening. Again, there are 7 ways to present insurance solutions as well, so it gives you some other ideas aside from just the tablet itself and printed PDFs and things like that. Remember, you can still use a tablet. Know an advisor who brings in his laptop, sets up a screen share, and gives the client the tablet, and it's basically a personal movie theater where the advisor can walk the client through the case. So again, they set up the screen share. Again, you can screen share right from your tablet. So again, if you have GoToMeeting here, there's no reason you can't set up a GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar with your with your actual report. So lots of different ways to present. Remember some other tips, if you have a big presentation the next morning, make sure your tablet's fully charged. Some of the obvious ones. And again, a lot of advisors will even use a shared case. They'll have a tablet, the client has a tablet, and they can go through it interactively. Some other fringe benefits, it's great for the environment. We're not printing off a load of paper. And if we do need to make any adjustments, we can on the fly. So again, you can be very dynamic. You can handle objections. All of those metrics, like even things like turning on a buy term invested difference or adjusting the rate of return on an alternate investment, make carrying a tablet and adjusting the case a huge benefit. But that brings us to a close on our webinar this month. I really want to thank you for attending. Hopefully you've got some value and some different ideas on how to use life design analysis. Remember, make it a shortcut on your tablet. When you think life insurance, think life design analysis. And all of these concepts, they work with multiple different products. So, regardless of the product set or the type of situation we focused on today, remember, you can always use this for your specific market segment. If you're having difficulty with any of these sort of concepts, remember to reach out over our live chat, ask for help. Someone should be there to help you. But again, we've got our help center. We've got our YouTube channel full of videos. There's always a way to get support. But again, the main idea is that go to life design analysis frequently. The more options you present to your clients, the more successful you're going to be, especially when you communicate those options in a visual manner. So again, I want to thank you. If you have any feedback, send it to us at info@lifedesignanalysis. If you have any ideas or suggestions for topics in the future, we'd love to hear them. We're always trying to keep the content fresh for you. So thank you so much for your support, and look forward to hearing from you in the future. Take care.